Hi all, this is Karthik from Design School, the place where I teach you how to design, build and customize your websites. If you are new here, consider subscribing. Let's get into today's video. This video is a part of playlist called Elementor Basics, in which we talk about every widget, every feature and all things Elementor. Today we are going to talk about the icon box widget and the image box widget. I'll show you how to customize this using custom CSS, and then I'll also show you how to create your own custom icon boxes such as this one, or a card based boxes or content such as this one, and a lot more. So without wasting any further time, let's get into the video. So the image box and the icon box widgets are effectively the same if you're using SVG in your images or in your icons. Since SVGs are natively supported, there's not really much of a difference between image box and icon box. If you're using native images or font awesome icons, only then there'll be much of a difference. Otherwise, you'd rather go with image box widget itself. Anyway, so I'll show you the basics of the image box widget. Here, you can pick the image of your choice. You can also link it to any dynamic field such as featured image of this page, your site logo, or any ACF field. From here, you can also collapse this panel. Here you can pick the resolution of the image. So you can pick a medium resolution. Let me pick an image first. So I'll just go to my library. I'll pick this image. It has a resolution of 1100 by 834 pixels. So I'll just click on insert media. Now let's change the resolution. And you can see that the image changes the resolution. Well, here's one thing to note. When you change the resolution here and when you go to style tab, you'll find something called width percentage. Well, what's that? Here you're setting the size of the image and here you have width percentage. Well, it's nothing but the maximum width of the image per device. So on desktop, we're seeing that the image should not exceed 30% of the width of the container. So even if you increase it to 1024, it'll only occupy 30% of that. Let's increase this width, and now you can see that the image takes more space and it gets bigger. So this width percentage is actually the max width of an image per device in percentage. You can set this per device. So for tablet you can have another maximum width percentage. On mobile you can have a different max width percentage. So that's how you pick the image resolution. This text field can take HTML formatting. It can also take font awesome icons. So if you want to format your text, maybe you want to have a bold text, italic text in your heading, you can do that. The easiest way to do it, of course, you can type HTML if you know how to format HTML, or just type for the text editor widget. So it's this one. Drag it as a reference. Here type your text and make all the changes that you need. So let's say I just want to make this whole text italic. Let's actually reduce the size of our text. So I just want this as my heading here. So instead of formatting it using HTML from here, do all the formatting here. Let's also make it bold. Let's also have it underlined just to show you what's possible. Of course, we're not going to have that. Go to text, and from here you can take the HTML. Copy the HTML, go to this widget, instead of title, paste it. Boom, you just have a formatted HTML instead of plain text. You can do this with any text field of any widget. I've shown this a lot of times. You can also insert font awesome icons in a similar way. So drag in a reference font awesome icon widget. So it can be an icon. It better be a simple icon widget. Pick the icon that you want to have. So I'll just click on this. I'll maybe pick this icon. Click on insert. Minimize the side panel. Right click on this. Click on inspect. That will give us the HTML code that we need to paste into the text field to display this icon. It's that simple. So now you can paste the code and you can go back to your widget. So I just want to have the icon here at the beginning. boom, I just have my icon. And you can also do the same thing with the text below it, just like that. I can see a lot of icons in line with text, and they have all the properties that you set for the text itself. Of course, even this text field can also be a dynamic field. This can also take shortcode. So instead of typing text, you can take shortcode of any widget, and you can actually design a template and paste the shortcode here. So that will display the template instead of this plain static text. So those are some of the ways to enhance your designs just by using few HTML tricks and image box widget. You can also link this to anything. You can also click on this. You can also set to open the link in new tab. You can add a nofollow link. Nofollow is basically telling search engines that this link is not really important. So you need not have to follow the pattern or the link juice. So that's what it means. Again, we'll discuss that later. You can also pick the icon image position from here, maybe onto the right, maybe onto the center, onto the left, however you want. You can also pick the HTML tag for your title. Let's change it to a plain one. Let's also change the content to plain one. So based on your preference, you can pick an HTML tag for your title. And under style, you have ways to format your image. So you can extend it. You can increase the space between the image and the content area. You can also increase the maximum width percentage per device. Like I told you, if you want it 100%, so it will stretch to its maximum resolution in its available space. Again, that's important. So you can pick the max resolution. You can also add a hover animation, so it will shrink, grow, or do stuff like that. You can also add CSS filters, so you can oversaturate it and have such an effect. Now you can see it clearly, so it looks like as if it's a new image. You can also increase the opacity, reduce the opacity, and do stuff like that. Within content area, you can choose to align the content onto the middle, onto the bottom, or onto the top based on the length of your content. Again, you can also align the text within the content using these settings. You can use the spacing to separate, and you have your color and typography for title and description as well. So that's pretty much it for the image box widget. And for the icon box widget, everything else is the same as the image box widget, except that you can pick an icon instead of an image. Like I told you, if you're using images in SVG format, well, icon box and image box widgets won't make much of a difference to you. You can use either of them. But if you're using font awesome icons, you can go with the icon box widget. Or if you're using the custom icons from Fontello or sources like that, even then you can go with the icon box widget. So you have something like that. Let's scale down the size a bit. You can also pick on hover animation, so you can change the color to a different one on hover and do stuff like that. The only thing that changes between image box and the icon box is the icon itself. All the settings and the structure is the same. Again, you can do all the tricks that I've told you. So you can put HTML formatting in the title or in the description just by using a reference rich text editor widget. You can also put font awesome icons right within the title. You won't need that, but if you want to, you can put those inline by getting the icon code from there. You can also link this. Usually these are used for explaining the features of a product or a service. So icon box or image box widgets are usually used in pairs. So they're usually 3 per row and they explain features of a product. They're usually called feature boxes. And if you have unlimited elements add-on, you have a lot of boxes. So they have a category called content boxes, within which you have a lot of different styles of widgets With Elementor, you're basically limited to this, but with unlimited elements, you can pretty much achieve all these. So you can preview the widgets and simply install them with a button. There are also product boxes if you're using WooCommerce. So that's pretty much it that comes bundled with Elementor and Unlimited Elements add-on. But how about creating your own widget, right? Like I showed you at the beginning of the video, I'll show you how to create widgets like these by taking this code. And if you think of them, they're still icon boxes, but they're rather called CSS cards. If you're familiar with Google now, it organizes information in the form of cards. Elementor calls them boxes, and you can do a Google search for CSS cards and you'll find a lot of them. I just took few of the cards and converted them into functioning widgets by using Unlimited Elements add-on. How to do that? So let's go to our Unlimited Elements add-on. I'll show how to achieve this by making minor modifications. So this is again another card based style, which I'll show you how to make this work in Unlimited Elements add-on. I'll also show you how to achieve this, and rest all you can pretty much achieve by following the method shown. If you're new to Unlimited Elements add-on, you can check out Widget Creator tutorial. I clearly explain how it works. Again, let's go ahead and first build this widget right here. So once you have Unlimited Elements add-on installed on your website, you can pick a category or you can create a category of your own and click on Add Widget. So let's call it Card 1. So you can name the widget the way you want, and it's called Card 1. I'll click on Add Widget. Now I can double click this or click on this pencil icon to edit the widget, basically to add the HTML, CSS and JavaScript required for this widget. This is actually a pure CSS widget, so we don't need JavaScript for it. And I'll share the links to the pen. You can find it from this article from freefrontend.com. So here it's something other than pure HTML. It's called HAML. So you can click on this drop down and click on view compiled HTML. You can do the same with CSS. If it's not pure CSS, you need to click on the drop down, click on view compiled CSS. So let's take the HTML. You need to click on view compiled HTML from here, and after that copy the whole HTML, go to your Unlimited Elements widget and click on HTML. Just remove this text and paste your HTML code. So this is the code that we got from this pen by Adam Khan. So we got the HTML required. I'll click on update and it works fine. And here's a way to check if your code is working or not. So once you click on HTML, CSS and JavaScript and add each one of them and click on update, if it shows a blank screen, it means that your code is going to crash your machine. I'll show you why that's important. Let's also copy CSS from here. Let's click on CSS, paste it. I know this is not going to work because they're actually targeting the body element. Since it's a demo, they can simply target the body element. But if we target the body element in our element interface, it'll mess up our whole page and it'll mess up pretty much everything else on the page. So we need to replace body with a container. You can remove this from CSS and we need to replace body with a container. But here they don't have a container. So the best way is to add a little bit of HTML. So first I'll just add HTML. So this is the exact code that you need to type. Let's call it card container. So we basically created a div element and it has an attribute of class and the class name is card container. You can watch HTML and CSS basics on the channel to get more idea about this. So we started or opened this HTML tag. Now we need to close it. So the div ends here. Next to that, you need to put another div for the newly added container. Every HTML tag needs to be closed. Now you can go to CSS. Before pasting it here, copy the CSS, use a text editor such as Atom, I usually use Atom, you can use anything else. So I'll click on file, click on new file. Let's paste the CSS that we got from the code pen here. Now we replaced body with another container, right? And you also need to make sure that this class name is unique. So you can add a random number, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, something at the end. But I know that the card container class is pretty much unique. Let's take this, and all of the code has body. We need to replace body with dot class name of the parent container. That way will not affect other elements on our Elementor page. So I'll just select body. I'll press Command F or Control F if you're on a PC. You need to replace body with dot card container. I'll click on find all. So there are 64 instances of body. If you replace it or if you use the body tag itself, it will surely mess up your screen. You can do that. You can try it without replacing it with card container. By trying to create a widget, it will throw an error or it will show up a blank screen. I'll click on replace all, and now my body is replaced with a unique class name which I can use. So I can use the CSS to create my widget. I'll go to CSS. I'll delete this CSS. I'll paste the modified CSS. So this CSS will only affect this particular HTML but not other HTML on the page. Let's click on update. If everything goes well, it will be updated, or you'll get a blank screen or an error showing that this CSS or JavaScript or HTML is actually messing up your page. It didn't throw up any error, which means it worked. Let's click on preview widget, and that's all we need to do in order to make this work. We just added another div before this div class is equal to card. We also closed it here, and that's it. Pretty much everything else is the same as the widget, and here we have our widget functioning. Perfect. So after viewing the preview, you can load it from Elementor demo. So I'll just remove these. Let's click on update. Let's reload this page so that the newly created widget loads up. So you can search for your widget by its name. We called it card1, so it's this one, or you can scroll onto the bottom. I have a lot of widgets. I also have CrocBlock installed. So under my widgets, you can see that I have my card1. Click and drag it just like you drag a normal Elementor widget, and boom, there we have our widget. So it's perfectly working, but it's not functional yet because we need to replace the attributes or this static text with dynamic values so that we can customize it and make it an actual working Elementor widget. But the code seems to work, and this is a cool content box that we achieved without writing single piece of code. We took this code by Adam and we just ported it cleverly using Elementor and Unlimited Elements add-on. Now, how do you add a dynamic value? How do you make a dynamic value appear here? So the answer is simple. You just create attributes. I've explained this in the widget creator tutorial. So in order to make this dynamic or a value customizable by the user, you need to modify the HTML or replace the HTML with a dynamic value. Let's go back to our widget. So this content is this. So we need to replace all that. So it has a p tag and it's this one. So we need to replace this whole p with a dynamic value or an attribute. So you need to create an attribute first. We want a rich text editor. So pick a rich text editor attribute. Let's call it box1 content. Name will be autofilled based on the title you type. Default value. Let the default value be default value itself. Let's click on add attribute. When you go to HTML, and now when you select everything with p tag and also the text itself, Now you can click on this box 1 content, which is the attribute. Let's click on update. Now let's go and refresh this. Now that we've created an attribute for the content, we should be able to customize it. Let's click on it, and now we have, let's enter some value. Give it some time to refresh the value, and the value will show up here. And just like that, now whatever you enter here will be the content of the widget. In the HTML structure, they just have one content area. I wish they had multiple content. You can modify the HTML of third tab and the second tab by using a little bit of JavaScript, the way we did with the tabs widget. Again, if you're not into it, this is just a quick way to show you how it works. So this is done. Now let's achieve this one. This one has HTML, CSS, and also JavaScript. And we have a similar problem with this. So the body and the UL, these are general elements, and we cannot afford to have elements with basic or generic tag names in CSS. That will mess up our whole site. So we need to fix this as well. So let's take the HTML required to display these cards in this way. So this is how it works. When you click on a card, its content shows up in the form of a number. Good if you have a sporting website or something of that sort. Anyway, we'll just see how to achieve this. All the HTML that we need is starting with this unordered list till here. So this is the code for all the tags. We don't need this one, we don't need this one, we don't even need tweet button, because we are actually making it a Elementor widget. So we need to understand which HTML to pick. So starting from this until here, I'll pick the HTML. Let's put it under the same widget. I can simply refresh the page. Again, you can create a new widget and customize it. I'll just put it within the same widget. So I'll put HTML here. So this is the HTML. Let's take CSS. Again, it's not pure CSS. Click on it. Click on view compiled CSS. Let's take the CSS first. Let's put it in our Atom text editor. Again, we don't need this because we don't have these content. Let's delete this. They have class names, which is okay because class names are unique and you can have these class names. And if you have these class names for other widget, again, change it to something as my card or card123, whatever. Just make this class name unique wherever you use it. And I'm pretty sure .card won't be available in any of my widgets. If it is, just change it to card123. So that's a quick tip. We need to replace UL and body with something more specific. So let's add a container to this widget. We'll do the same. Or you can actually add a class to this UL. So I'll just call it card list. Let's put this whole thing within a div element. Let's give it a class name of mega container. Whatever you call it, just this should be unique. Since we opened this div, we need to close it at the end. And closing tag should have this /. Let's click on update. Of course, before updating it, let's remove the CSS from here. So we have the HTML ready. We just added a class name to the unordered list. Let's take the CSS from here. So I'll take everything from body. We already have it. So let's replace body with the container, and let's replace UL with the unique class name that we just gave for that UL. We called it card list. Copy it. Let's replace this UL with .card list. And a quick tip is that the CSS should not target elements by tag names. If you have such a CodePen demo, then you need to do this. If it's not, then well, you can pretty much take the code, paste it, and it will still work. Let's replace body with the container we created for it. So it's mega container. Copy. Let's call it .mega container. So that's how you add CSS for class names. Now we have CSS ready. Let's copy. If something goes wrong, again we need to come back and rectify that. Let's paste. Let's click on update. If everything goes well, this won't throw up a blank screen. It didn't. That means the CSS is okay to proceed. Let's add the JavaScript now. JavaScript you can copy as is, except that you need to look for libraries used within this JavaScript. So let's go to the demo itself. Click on settings. Under JavaScript, you can find that it's using jQuery. jQuery is already built into Unlimited Elements add-on. So you can go to JS CSS includes, click on jQuery, and it should work. But here's another additional step that you need to follow to make this widget work. So copy the whole JavaScript, and it was actually advised by Amit, the author or the creator of Unlimited Elements add-on himself. So copy the JavaScript and replace $. So just select $, and replace it with jQuery. So this will make sure that your jQuery is actually working within your Unlimited Elements add-on, and you get the same results. So let's click on find all, and there are 4 instances. Let's replace all, and now the widget will be functional once we put this modified JavaScript code. So within this, I'll remove this one. You just need to replace $ with jQuery so that this works. Let's click on update, and again, if everything goes well, this won't throw up an error or a blank screen of death. It's updating the code required. Since I modified the code of this widget card1 itself, I didn't create a new widget and add code in that. I can simply refresh my Elementor interface, and now this widget will work according to the code defined in this. So if everything goes well, we'll get the Google Now inspired cards such as this one, and it should work just fine. So let's find out. I'm just waiting for my interface to be loaded. Now my interface loads up. It's card1, as you can see here. We need to delete the attribute from here since we're not actually using it. We'll create a new attribute, don't worry. We didn't delete the attribute, so it just showed up here. But if you enter, nothing will be affected because this attribute is not linked. Again, these cards are just working fine as shown in the demo. We just need to make the content dynamic. So let's replace Tony with a dynamic field. So you need to look in the HTML where Tony really is. So this one. So this needs to be replaced with an attribute. So you can create an attribute for this, create an attribute for this, and also an attribute for this to get values dynamically from user. I'll just do it for this one. So Aaron will be here, I guess. So the first one, I'll create an attribute. I'll call it card name 1. So let's call it card name 1. It can be a simple text field. Let's allow font edit. Let's call it default. Let's click on add attribute. Now let's select Aaron. Click on card name 1. Let's click on update. Now the widget is updated. Let's refresh this. Now you won't see this since we've deleted this. Let my Elementor interface reload. Anytime you make changes to your widget, you need to either reload the template or drag the widget once again. Now you can see when I click on this, I can change value to Karthik, card name 1, and that will be reflected here. Instead of Aaron, I'll see Karthik now, just like that. So you can replace each and every value with an attribute. So you can replace Tony with maybe card name 2, Ben with card name 3. So you can create another attribute for last name. So you can call it card name or card last name 1, card last name 2, and also replace all that data with attributes as I've shown you. So this is how you take code from CodePen, and these are some excellent widgets that I found really interesting. You can also do the same with this card slider. Let me show you how this works. So they're basically a slideshow of cards, and also the background changes based on the image and the text here. So that's really neat. You can again replace these images. Again, these are image boxes or icon boxes, whatever you call them. Let's achieve this. I'll create a new widget. I'll go to widgets list. I'll pick the category, my widgets. Let's click on add widget. Let's call it card slider 1, whatever you call it. Click on add widget. Let's click on the pencil icon where it will take us to edit the widget. You can pick an icon for your widget. So instead of this settings cog, you'll see the icon that you pick. So that's a neat way of identifying the widget that you created from the CodePen. Let's add HTML from here. We also have body, so we need to replace body with again a container, and rest all can be the same, I believe. This is not normal HTML. You need to click on view compiled HTML. I already clicked on it. Let's copy the HTML first, and now you can see which should be made an attribute. So you can replace this value with a text field, and that will be an attribute for that card. The same thing is with an image. You can create an image attribute or an icon attribute for this HTML. So where it says image img and where it closes, you can replace this whole, or you can replace the source with an image attribute, and that will give you an image picker. We'll do that, don't worry. So that's a cool little way to customize it or add attributes. We added HTML. Let's add CSS. Clicked on this. The CSS needs to be modified. Copy. Let's put the CSS here. Let's call it slider container. We need to create a class with this class name, or just a tag with this class name. So right above the card, I'll say slider container. We should also close this. I'll click on update. Let's go to CSS. Now we need to take CSS from here. Actually from here. If this class name is not unique, or if it's messing up your Elementor interface or something, then you need to make this unique. I believe this is all unique. Let's go to our widget. Let's paste the CSS there. I'll update again just to see if the widget is working. It's working perfectly fine, meaning our CSS is not screwing up our site design. So that's really neat. Now we need to add JavaScript. Copy. Let's put it in our text editor. Again, this $sign needs to be replaced with jQuery. Find all and replace all. This is what Amit has suggested to make the code work. Put the JavaScript, the replaced JavaScript. Again, you can check this by updating it. You can also test the widget. But let's preview our widget. Let's see if it's functioning or not. Once it's functioning, you can simply add attributes to customize the content. That's not a big deal. So I just clicked on preview widget from here. If everything goes well, the preview should load up and the widget should function as shown in the demo. So something's wrong. It screwed up the design cause the CSS, the classes that we used in this were the same as the classes that we used for the other widgets that I created earlier. So you need to make sure that these classes are unique. So if something else has a class name of card, replace that with something unique such as card123, and once you replace that, you get this. Just like that. Now this is a slider of cards and you can totally customize these by replacing them with appropriate attributes. So that's a quick way to create your own content boxes, image boxes or icon boxes or cards simply by taking code from CodePen, understanding it and using it carefully. That's it for now. Hope you guys liked this. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I'll talk to you in the next video. I'll leave a link to this, or you can just go to freefrontend.com/CSS cards, and this is where I got the code from these demos. You can visit this link. I'll also leave this link in the description so you can check out other cards, try achieving others. If you cannot achieve other cards, it's okay. Keep trying, keep experimenting. I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.